Welcome to Get Ripped Collectibles.
Gator Dave, we are back for another week, my man. How you doing?
I am well, thank you. Lucky number 5. That's Gator Day's favorite number. So we are on week 5. Hopefully, we have a good week, and that number comes in like we want it to. So Gator Day, Miami Mike in the house, ready to roll. Just remind everybody. First, let me thank everyone that we hit 100 subscribers. Yes, we did. We hit 100 subscribers this week, so thank you so much to all the folks that watch us. You know, we're having a great time out there. So thank you so much for the 100. I guess our next goal is to hit 200, so we'll see how that goes. Our new show time, Wednesday nights. Granted, we had a few setbacks as of late, but we are rolling on Wednesday night so that you got those wagers in for the Thursday night games. I do want to mention Mike's brainchild down there at the bottom. We got the ticker down there with the games in the order at which we're going to call the games with the point spreads down at the bottom. So if you want to check or need to reference that, you can see that down at the bottom. So that's good stuff. So last week, not a bad week for Gator Dave. Not a bad week. Let's see. Which side is it? Is it my left or my right? Look up there. We got the number ones up there, which is a good thing. So back in the saddle again. 6-4-2 last week. Some weird ass pushes that really toasted us. Had we not had those pushes, and they really would have happened because they were close down to the wire, we'd have really had a decent week. So 6-4-2 and 4-6-2 for Mike there. So not a bad week, and I'm like I said, I'm feeling it this week. Lucky number 5. I'm feeling week 5.
Hey, so, I'm glad you are, Dave, because I hate this week's slate. These games this week really took a toll on me to try to pick some winners here for you guys.
You know, the good thing is starting next week, it's no more BS, right? We're everybody's in the midst of their schedules, and we've got a general idea of how teams are, right? Because it's been cupcakes in a lot of situations, so a little hard to pick when you're picking with cupcakes. So hopefully next week can be better, but let's see how we do here in week 5, Mike. You ready to get started?
Yeah. Do you want to lead us off?
All right, let's do this. So first game is, and you said this game, is it Thursday or Friday, Mike? On the Cincinnati
This is Friday.
Game.
Friday night.
Friday night. Yeah, Friday's got a couple of decent games. And this first one here, Cincinnati at BYU. BYU getting favored by 2 here. So the Bearcats come in at 2-2. And they're 2-2 against the spread. I got to see them play, you know, kind of off and on. I had my 4-box, my multi-view up YouTube, right, which is really cool.
YouTube TV, that multi-view, man, it's legit. My only complaint, let me pick the games. You know what I'm saying? Let me pick the 4 that I want to watch, because it's like the 2 that I want to watch, and then they got 2, you know, FCS teams going at it, and what are we doing?
So it's they're really trying to screw with you, because some of the games you could plug in and you'd have a whole list of options, but when I got down to wanting to watch the Georgia game and a couple of others, it's like, well, we'll give you Georgia, but we're giving you cupcakes as well. So, but it is badass. Four games. I'm
it's awesome. Love it.
If I'm not at a game, that's the way to watch it. And I was able to watch some of that Oklahoma game. Cincinnati didn't do too bad against Oklahoma. You know, I mean, granted they covered the spread, but it really wasn't some kind of blowout like a lot of people thought it was. BYU 3-1 with this 7-point win over Arkansas, which is pretty cool, and that was at Arkansas. They did lose to Kansas by 11 this past week. Now, Kansas is a decent team. Granted, they're not Texas, which they're playing this week, by the way. but they're a decent team. They only lost by 11. However, here's the deal: BYU is 1-3 against the spread so far this year. This will be their first Big 12 home game. Okay, because this game obviously playing at home with Cincinnati coming in. So the Bearcats had a tough time, with the Bearcats and losing by almost 3 touchdowns. Emory Jones, my boy from my ex-Gator, had 2 interceptions. I guess that maybe is why he's not a Gator anymore, but rather interesting. Run game, very important to Cincinnati, and they do pretty well with that. Jones is running the ball. It's no more maybe run the ball. He's running the ball. And Corey Kiner, which is their running back, is doing pretty well. 328 yards, averaging 5.8 yards this year. Bearcats are 16th in rushing offense this year, so not too shabby. Jones is 970 passing yards, 242 a game, while throwing about 62%, which is probably a little better than he did when he was at Florida. So BYU's relied heavily on a name you've heard of, Kenton Slovis. Passing game, moving the ball. He's thrown for 1,000 yards already. He's only completing 60% of his passes. 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, averaging 254 a game. So I really thought about this one, and my, granted, BYU has had, some decent games up to this point, but I'm telling you, Cincinnati looked decent against that Oklahoma team. So I am, in this particular game, Mike, I'm going to go with the Bearcats and the money line. Bearcats and the money line. What do you think?
All right, interesting. Might be on the other side here, Dave. Might be on the other side here. We might have a head-to-head here.
Awesome.
So my thing is, while the QB play for BYU, right? You were talking about Keaton Slovis. I mean, he's been relatively good this year. My thing with the offense for the Cougars is they cannot get anything going on the ground right now. Their leading back is a guy named L.J. Martin. He's got 223 yards on 56 carries. Next closest guy behind him, yardage-wise, is a guy named Deion Smith, who has 16 carries for 29 yards. That is their second leading running back, 29 yards on this team. Through 4 games, they have less than 300 total rushing yards as a team. And if you watched our preview show, you know that I had BYU at 7 wins. I was really low on Cincy. I think if I remember, I had them at like 4 wins. They're halfway there now. I actually had them at this point at 2-2, and I had BYU at 3-1 at this point in the season. So it's interesting because it's about to all crash for you boys in the Bearcats. It's all going downhill from here, Dave. I think the ultimate thing is just going to be the run game. It's a huge liability. I'm going to throw a couple of things at you real fast. I do like BYU in this game. So since the start of the 2019 season, in games that start before 6 p.m. kickoff, BYU is just 9 wins and 10 losses, Dave. 9 and 10, all right? In night games after 6 p.m., BYU is 21-1. 21-1 in night games, Dave.
Come on, man.
There's chaos in Provo, baby. Chaos in Utah. They get down at night out there, man. So here's the thing, right? I think the difference is going to be that run game, and it's also going to be turnovers. Your favorite quarterback in the world, Mr. Emory Jones, knows very well about the turnover issues and turnover battle. I think that's going to be the problem here. Give me BYU to get it done at home. I think it's going to be close early, but I think BYU pulls away. I think they get in the 30s on the Bearcats, and I think the Bearcats struggle to get 30.
But remember, 128th ranked running game.
Yeah.
Them Cougars. All right.
But Slovis can sling it, Dave. He can sling it.
Sling it, baby. He can sling it.
All right, so next game we're going to talk here is Louisville, NC State. Real quick, I want to shout out some guys in the chat. Public House, I see you, sir. Thanks for hopping in. We know you're living the good life at the beach right now. But shout out to you. Appreciate it. Anubis, what up, man? How will Colorado do? Hey, the world is their oyster right now, bro. They can do whatever they want to do. Prime is showing he is a world-class motivator and leader, and he gets those dudes ready to play. He knows how to fire them up. He knows how to get under them, like that fire. It's going to be a tall task this week against USC, especially without Travis Hunter, obviously. I don't know if they're going to get that one done, Dave. Do you want to real quick say anything on that one?
I don't. They're not going to get it done. Whether they cover or not, I don't know. I mean, yeah. I think we got to get realistic with Deion. It was a lot of pomp and circumstance in the beginning. It's fun. Fun as hell. I mean, I'm a Cowboy fan, so I love Deion. So I think it's a matter of him just getting the peeps, man, getting the players, that he needs to get past. He's got to get some offensive and defensive linemen, and it's going to come. I mean, I honestly think they can win 6 games, 7 max, but and it's going to be fun because it's Deion, it's my guy. But it's we got to be real. When we talk about Colorado, he's done a great job. I love the guy, but he's got some recruiting to do, and he's got to get to trenches, which is the real deal.
See, you know what's funny though? If I go back to that preview show, I seem to remember you were not too high on Colorado there, Dave, and I was, and you called me crazy for it. If I do recall.
Well, we might go back to that. Well, let's see where we end up, Mike.
Yeah, we'll see where they finish. I mean, they got a tough next stretch.
They have a hard schedule, man.
Yeah, so I mean, they got USC this week, Arizona State next, Stanford next. Then they got a bye week, but then it gets real tough for them in that last 5 games. That's the issue for me. I think they only get 2 out of those 3. I had them finishing 6-6 this year, so I had them going to a bowl. Obviously, again, Deion knows how to get those kids going, so anything's possible. All right, let me see, especially in that Pac-12.
I want to know how my guy Public House is rocking tonight. I mean, my question is he sitting on the computer at the in the library of the Mardi Gras, or what's going on? Glad you're here, buddy. Go ahead.
No worries. So we're going to talk Louisville, NC State, switch over to the ACC. All right, first and foremost, both of these teams I have not been impressed with at all this year. I had high hopes for the both of them, going back to what we were just talking about in the preview show. I mean, I had them up there at the top of the ACC competing. They ain't it. They ain't it this year.
4-0, 3-1, Mike. Come on, bud.
Have you watched them play?
4-0, 3-1. Come on, bud.
Come on, man. All right, look. So the problem is, with NC State, I'll start there first. They got Brennan Armstrong, transfer from Virginia. I thought for sure this dude was going to drop in for Devin Leary and sort of pick up where he left off. He was more of a dual threat guy rather than Devin Leary, the pocket passer who transferred to Kentucky. He has not looked good at all. He's got 5 touchdowns and 4 interceptions through 4 games. He does have 3 touchdowns on the ground, which is pretty much the reason NC State has the record they have right now, and their defense. Defense has been huge. NC State just doesn't have the weapons for Brennan Armstrong also. They got 1 wide receiver. His name is Kevin Concepcion. And he's above and beyond their best guy. He's got 22 catches, 238 yards, 2 touchdowns. Next closest guy reception-wise on their team has 9 for 108. So big drop off. The passing game has really not been there for NC State so far. But I think it's a matter of play calling rather than quarterback play, skill player play. If you watch these games, I mean, the amount of times where they're throwing the ball within a 3-yard distance is ridiculous. Screens, slants, outs. I don't know. To me, you got to trust Brendan Armstrong and let him throw. The dude, if you look back at his stats, I think it was 2021, I mean, he had incredible stats, like potentially Heisman candidate type stats. And then he dropped off last year, and Virginia really struggled because they ended up losing their coordinators, and obviously that played a toll. But if I'm not mistaken, I think at NC State is his old coordinator. So it was supposed to be like a copacetic, like boom, boom, bow, step in and kind of get it done. And it just hasn't happened. So I don't know, from a fan's point of view looking in, it looks like the offensive coordinator is way too timid with his play calling and needs to open it up and kind of trust this guy that they brought in to lead this offense. On the flip side, you look at this Louisville team. They're led by former Louisville quarterback Jeff Brom. He's back at his alma mater. They have started to click on offense. They started really slow in the beginning of the year. They really looked like, Jeff Brom potentially was in over his head with these guys that he brought in transfer-wise. But their starting quarterback, Jack Plummer, has got it going. He's got 10 touchdowns, 4 interceptions on the year for over 1,100 yards. Starting running back, Jawar Jordan, has 50 carries for 478. He's averaging, Dave, 9.6 a carry. And he's got 6 touchdowns to go with it. Their top wide receiver for Louisville is a Georgia State transfer. His name's Jamari Thrash. He is an absolute dog. He has 19 catches for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. Offense put up 56 last week against Boston College. They're averaging 43 as a unit. I think the NC State defense is able to make some plays, keep this one close. Ultimately, I got Louisville. I think that they just have enough skill player-wise and offense that they're going to be able to score on that NC State defense. And I think they're going to have enough defensive-wise to kind of shut down that timid NC State offense. Who you got here, Dave?
All right. Hey, quick shout-out to Evelyn Johnson, who's been listening to us, loves listening to what we got saying. Obviously, that's a good thing. So thank you, Evelyn, for listening to us guys. But so I'm even higher on Louisville. I mean, I know I had to push you a little bit to put this game on here, Mike, because I'm really high on this game. North Carolina State is not what it used to be. Okay, granted they're 3-1. Louisville's 4-0. Louisville's 2-2 against the spread, but NC State is 0-4 against the spread, Mike. And you threw the stats out there quite nicely in terms of what the teams are doing. And, NC State's they're not getting it done on offense that you pointed out. And they are not the defense that we're used to seeing at NC State either.
No.
Okay. So that's the big issue. You've always been able to count on that defense, right? And you're not able to count on the defense this year. And that's the big issue. And I think Louisville, Brahms in there. It's kind of exciting to see him, back at his alma mater, rolling in there. I really like that guy anyway. I mean, he did almost win me $400 from Purdue, doing well last year.
And one of the best players ever in the XFL. I won't say best players ever, but he definitely took one of the best hits I've ever seen in my lifetime in the XFL. He almost died on that field. So.
Goodness. But needless to say, I'm high on Louisville right now, especially against North Carolina State, who I think is pretty much hot garbage at this point. So Jake Plummer, who is the quarterback for Brom and the Cards, is slinging that thing all over the place. And I say the 3 points, easy money. Easy money. This one's a Gator Day block, and give me those Louisville Cardinals to take care of business, Mike.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
All
right, sir.
Next up, so we have not talked Texas State. This is our first time, so we're going to talk Texas State versus Southern Miss. So Texas State comes in 5.5 points above the infamous Southern Miss Golden Eagles. So Texas State's 3-1 with wins over Nevada, Jackson State, and Baylor. Not a huge, resume, but Baylor is a Power 5 team. Nevada, decent. So they haven't done too bad. Their one loss was against UTSA in an away game, by only a touchdown. And we know UTSA, decent team, right? They are 3-1 against the spread, which is hot. Southern Miss, however, comes in 1-3 with their win in their first game of the year against Alcorn State. The Golden Eagles are 1-3 against the spread. So having a rough time. I need to shout out to those Golden Eagles and thank them for their defensive coordinator that they gave to the Florida Gators.
You mean Todd Grantham Jr.? It's like his mini-me.
No, it's not even Todd Grantham Jr. No.
Have you seen them in a side-by-side, dude? I'm talking visor, belly, all of it.
He's a little chunky.
That is a clone. They went to the warehouse and they cloned Tyrone and they put him as your DC.
He has light hair like me. So you'll be thinking about that next year when we shut y'all's ass down there, Mr. Hurricane. So, but let's keep rolling here, Mike. So Texas State has been like the retool team. We talk about, our buddy Anubis has talked about his Colorado Buffaloes. Texas State's one of those teams that, bring all you want, all the transfers. They've got some interesting players on that team. Guy named TJ Finley, who we might have heard, I believe, was he an LSU Tiger?
Auburn.
No? Auburn. Are you sure he hadn't played at LSU? Go check it. All right.
Oh, he might have. I know he came from Auburn, though.
He's passed up to this point 1,055 yards, completing almost 72% of his throws, 80 for 112, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception, 263 a game.
Yep.
Then they've got Malik Hornsby, 146, 11 carries, 73 yards a game, 3 rushing touchdowns. So they did a little stacking over there at Texas State, right? So Southern Miss, they've got Billy Wiles as their QB, leads the team, 813 yards, 203 a game, only a 54% completion rate. Not too hot. And by the way, your boy Frank Gore, who you like to talk, I know we talked about him a number of times last year. You kind of high on that guy. He hadn't done too well. 208 yards, 50 carries, only 52 yards a game, 2 rushing touchdowns. The Eagles have a terrible defense now. Now that we got the defensive coordinator, they forgot how to play defense. Texas State's going to run this score up. I'm telling you, this is another Gator Dave lock. Texas State is for real. Give me the cover on the 5.5 points there, Mike.
Yeah, I'm with you, Dave. You basically said everything that I needed to. It's Texas State's offense. That's the difference here. Southern Miss's defense is not going to be able to do anything, long term in this one. Southern Miss's offense is definitely not going to be able to keep up. You mentioned Frank Gore Jr. Yes, he had struggled throughout the year to begin with. I faded him, I think, last week. But last week he actually turned it up a little bit. 20 carries, 132 yards, and a touchdown. So he's kind of looking like himself from last year. It'll be interesting to see what he can do against this Texas State defense. But this Texas State team, they're averaging 40 a game. They have the old Incarnate Word head coach, so he's all about offense. If he can get 70 just like the Dolphins did last week, he'll do it. He'll do it in a heartbeat. So I'm with you. Yeah, I like Texas Tech to cover this one. I think they should win by multiple scores.
I totally agree. Hey, and a couple quick things, real quick. Shout out to Kilo G. I think we might have somebody from LSU that's in the house. So appreciate you joining. Do want to remind everyone, please give us a little thumbs up when you can. And if you haven't subscribed, please give us a subscription, because we're now on our way to 200 subscribers. We're gonna work it. We're gonna grind. We're gonna grind it out. We're gonna work hard. We're gonna make it happen. We are, we're that Deion Sanders, Colorado Buffaloes team that is just gonna make it happen. So, all right. So, next up, Mike, is this you or me?
I'll take it. If you
want.
Right. So we're going to talk Utah State, UConn. You can actually see it right there at the bottom of the screen at the ticker. Perfect timing. Planned it just that way. So look, I was real high on UConn after week 1. I think a lot of people were. A lot of people's eyes were open based off of what they did to NC State. They lost by 10 at home. But if you watch that game, I think that was also a Thursday or Friday night game. UConn was physical. They got off the ball well on offense in the trenches. They were pushing back on NC State. And that's kind of when my eyes opened on NC State, going back to what we were just talking about a little bit ago. The biggest thing for me in that UConn game was the quarterback that they had, Fagnano. He is hurt now. He's out for the season. But he, in that game, kind of took it over. He led with dominant physical runs. Running back followed. They just really couldn't get it done in the second half. But if you go back and look, I mean, they were all over NC State in that first half. But now they're 0-4, and they are not looking great. After they lost that quarterback, they're averaging just 13 total points a game. And they're giving up close to over 30 points a game on defense. So obviously that's not a recipe for success. I'm going to go with Utah State here minus the 6. Something to note on the Utah State side, they got a wide receiver named Terrell Vaughn. He is 5'7", okay? And the dude can absolutely fly. Yes, he's a receiver, 5'7" receiver. He's got 38 catches for 347 yards and 6 touchdowns through 4 games.
Wow.
So keep your eye on him in this one. I like Utah State to get up early on him and be able to cover the 6. Who do you like here, Dave?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Mike. So Utah State comes in. Granted, they're 1-3. This is kind of the game of the losers. But Utah State comes in at 1-3. They're 2-2 against the spread. Their lone win against Idaho State. They did lose to James Madison by only a touchdown last week. And James Madison's not, they're not chopped liver, right? UConn comes in 0-4, 1-3 against the spread. 3 of the 4 games were at home against Duke, FIU, and NC State. They lost them all. Now, one thing that's interesting, Mike, as both of us are going to ride the Utah State run here, is the money is on UConn. Rather interesting. That is the public money, however. So the Huskies rushed for just 89 yards and a loss and finished with 203 yards last week. So QB at 13 of 28 for 114 yards, a 2-yard rushing touchdown for the only Huskies score. So not too good last week. The Aggies quarterback, however, made his first career start last week. He was 25 of 47, 399 yards. Not bad for a damn freshman. Broke their freshman record. So he had a pretty decent day, and coming in looks pretty good. Obviously, this is like the 2 lackluster teams rolling into this one. I'm totally all over Utah State in this particular game. Easily cover those 6 points. I mean, if you want to go a little bit more, it can easily happen. They're gonna tear them up. They're gonna tear them up. I mean, UConn's nothing. They lost that QB, and they're absolutely nothing. So you can count on Utah State just to hammer these guys.
So I will say though, on that note, that's a 12 p.m. kickoff Eastern time. So that's an early kickoff time for those boys from Utah.
It is.
So it is.
But
that'll be interesting to see.
But But usually, I'll be honest with you. Usually, if you think about it, and I'll talk more about it as we get to my game, even though we're not picking my game. Those 12 o'clock kickoffs really kind of suck for the home team. You know, in general, they suck for the home team because you want your group and your fans juiced up for that game, and 12 o'clock is not good. So, all right. Let's move on to the next game. We are going Troy at Georgia State. So Troy comes in. I like these kind of local teams. I'm really starting to get to know them because really when you think about it, I mean, hell, Georgia State's just downtown Atlanta, right? And then
it's true. Old Turner Field.
You drive down, exactly. You drive down to the condo in Panama City. You got to pass by Troy right there. So, all right. So here we go. Troy is 2-2 with a win this past week over Western Kentucky. Not a pushover team, they've got a decent offense. It was at home. However, Troy is 0-4 against the spread this year. So remember that one and sock that one away. Georgia State 4-0, a butt whooping this past weekend on Coastal Carolina, right? And they're 4-0 against the spread. So I'm quite high on Georgia State at this point. It scares me a little bit to go to 5-0, but they've proved themselves up to this point with the teams that they play. In Troy's victory last week against Western Kentucky, Gunnar Watson, he had 349 yards. Then
that's they had big dude.
Yeah, that's not too shabby, Yeah.
He's like 6'5", 230, I think.
Bedell was their running back, rushed for 156 yards. Chris Lewis was their big receiver, 101 yards. The Trojans posted 521 yards against Western Kentucky. Now, again, remember Western Kentucky's that they're the good offensive team. You always bet the over in that one, right? So, now, last week, Georgia State kept things rolling again versus Coastal Carolina. They scored in every quarter in a 30-17 win. Their QB Granger put up 191 yards of passing, a TD, along with 47 yards of rushing. Marcus Carroll, 150 yards of rushing and a score on 29 carries at Turner Field. This is another big one, man. I think Georgia State's going to stay on their roll. So give me Georgia State University and the money line in this particular situation there, Mike. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you. Same thing. I'm going to take them money line as well for the same reasons as you said. Offense is just going to be way too much. It's not even that Troy has that bad of a defense. They're giving up 212 over or in the air right now, holding teams to less than 100. I think it's only like 92 on the ground. So it's not a huge thing in that nature. I think Georgia State's defense is going to be able to get some turnovers on Troy. If you look at Georgia State's offense, they're just too efficient. You mentioned Darren Granger, the quarterback. He's got 10 total touchdowns on the year with 0 turnovers. You mentioned Marcus Carroll, the running back. He's got 500 yards on the season with less than 100 carries, so he's averaging over 5 a carry. And then they got a really good wide receiver as well named Robert Lewis. He's got 400 yards and 5 touchdowns through 4 games. So I'm with you. I just think Georgia State's offense is going to be a little bit too much for Troy. Troy had I don't know if you watched the game last week too. It was kind of a roller coaster of emotions for them a little bit. So that may be a little bit of a hangover going into this one too. So yeah, I'm with you. Go Panthers.
All right, cool. Love that local talent. Rocking and rolling.
That's right. All right, so next we're going to talk Coastal Carolina, Georgia Southern here. Georgia Southern is the favorite. I think it's 6, if I remember right, that they're favored by.
I got 6.5, but I'm sure you can get 6 somewhere.
Okay. So short and sweet with this one. Georgia Southern, just like BYU, we talked about earlier, Dave, with that 21-1 at night since 2019. Remember that, folks. I'm just saying. It's a good number. Southern is at home, and Statesboro, I know from experience, is a different beast for night games rather than what you just spoke about, those 12 o'clock games. Different beast at home in Statesboro. So I'm going to start with that right there. Southern's quarterback, Bryn, we talked about him a little bit when they played Wisconsin. I was high on Georgia Southern. I ended up actually taking them in the first half. Got that one, but man, did he struggle. I think he had like 7 total turnovers. Well, he bounced back last week against Ball State in a very big way. He went for 344, 4 touchdowns, 0 turnovers. I think on the flip side for Coastal, their ability to run the football is just not really there right now. They sort of bank on big explosive plays in the run game, and without it, they're only getting about 3 yards a carry. They do have one of the top returning quarterbacks in Grayson McCall in the nation, much to your chagrin. I know that you wanted him in Gainesville, and you got Graham Mertz instead. So,
hey, Mertz is the top quarterback in terms of percentage.
Hey, some people love great value stuff, Dave. Like, some people like the name brand. Some people want the general. So, to each their own. But McCall, so the big thing with Grayson McCall, though, obviously he was talking about transferring potentially because his head coach that brought him into Coastal left Coastal for Liberty. He's the head coach there now, which is why Grayson McCall, was going to leave. Ultimately, he stayed. He's still balling. He's still got over 1,000 yards passing. He's got 5 touchdowns on the season. Coastal has been extremely good on third downs this year. I'm talking almost 50%, which is incredible. But they've really struggled to stop the run on defense. They're giving up over 175 a game on the ground right now. That's going to be a problem. Georgia Southern can absolutely sling it, but they got some dudes that can tote and run that thing too. Just for perspective, Southern has banked on the passing game more. They've thrown the ball 189 times to where they've only run it about 112, and 65 of those have come from their top 2 backs. But those top 2 backs, Jalen White and O.J. Arnold, they're averaging over 5 yards a carry. So their leading back, Jalen White, was also hurt in the Wisconsin game, and he missed last week against Ball State. But I think he's supposed to be back this week, so that's going to be big for their running game as well. Give me Southern to cover the -6, -6.5. I don't care. Southern in the Borough, night game, gets it done. Shout out to Travis. I see you in the chat. That's a Georgia Southern alum right there, sir.
Yeah. I was gonna throw that out there. Good catch there, Mike. Good catch. So you got Georgia Southern covering, even though you talked up my boy Grayson McCall, right? So,
he's good. He's going to be a good pro.
Okay, all right. Let's see what we got here. So Coastal 2-2 coming in. Lost last week against Georgia State. We talked about that. However, Coastal is 3-1 against the spread, so covering that spread. Now, Georgia Southern 3-1. Lost to Wisconsin a couple of weeks ago. Mike talked about that. They are 3-1 against the spread as well, so we're kind of even at this point, right? So, Grayson McCall, like I said, love that guy. Mike talked about it, 1,000 yards already. He's throwing at 67%, which is not too shabby at all. So they've struggled a little bit running the ball. Their guy, Brandon Bennett, 131 rushing yards, 32 a game. That's not too hot. So it's all about Grayson McCall throwing that ball. Now, Georgia Southern, Davis Brin, 1289. He's completing 72% of his passes. Not too shabby, right? Not too shabby at all. And you got O.J. Arnold, who's at 256 yards, 64 a game. He's also averaging 16 receiving yards a game. So, it's a tight game. It's at Georgia Southern, or boy, Mr. Baker's school and all that kind of good stuff. So I kind of get where you're leaning there. And, but I'm a coastal kind of guy. But in this game, I am going the under 64.5 in this game.
Right.
Always bet the under in the Georgia Southern games. Write that down, Mike. Bet the under in the Georgia Southern.
Somebody clip this for next week, because watch this game be like 77-70. It'll be perfect.
Flip it. We're betting the under.
All right.
Let's go. All right.
Right on.
So, next game, this is another one, Mike, through the old curveball at Gator Dave. So, we've got South Alabama versus James Madison.
The Dukes.
So, here's what we got. We got South Alabama is at 2-2 on the year. Only 1-3 against the spread. They did beat Oklahoma State, though. But everybody but maybe the Sisters of the Poor have beat Oklahoma State this year. So they kind of suck. They did lose to Central Michigan at home last week by 4. That would be Mr. McElwain, used to coach at the Florida Gators. We got rid of that guy. He was the shark humper. So they lost to Central Michigan at home last week. James Madison comes in booming 4-0, 2-2 against the spread. They beat the mighty Virginia Cavaliers at Virginia, Mike. That's a big win, right? No, that's not
Power 5.
Everybody's beating
ACC,
Virginia.
the powerhouse that is. Come on, man.
Everybody's beating Virginia, just like they're beating Oklahoma State. So those are no wins. Okay. All right. So all the money right now, by the way, the public money is on James Madison. So let's dig in a little bit. The Jaguars of South Alabama have earned 1,574 in total yards. They've compiled 6 passing touchdowns, 9 rushing. They've given up the ball 6 times. They've amassed 78 first downs as a unit, 26 penalties as a unit. They're also average 179 yards on the ground, ranking 42nd in D1. When it comes to scoring, South Alabama Jaguars are at 28.8 points per game. The Dukes of James Madison are giving up 22.5 a game, sitting at 60th in D1. James Madison's also given up 166 yards on the ground, as well as 4 touchdowns, blah, 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 blah. James Madison's a better team in this particular matchup. It's going to show early in this week's game. Look for James Madison to control both sides of the ball. I mean, they're not going to play. South Alabama's not where they were last year. James Madison's better overall. I'm going to take James Madison with the win and to cover the 3 points and substantially cover the 3 points.
Wow, is that a Gator Dave lock?
That is a big Gator Dave lock. I'm thinking 32-10, just a ass whooping here, Mike.
Okay, all right, right on. So a couple notes before I give you my pick. So James Madison last week, they played Utah State, who we talked about earlier on the show. They were up 38-17 at halftime. That game ended up being tied at 38 before James Madison scored with 5 minutes to go on a 76-yard catch and run. Okay? The reason I bring this up is because James Madison's passing defense has really struggled this year. They are 4-0, but they've squeaked by a little bit. They gave up 3 super long explosive plays. When I'm talking long, I'm talking over 55 yards against that Utah State team. The good news is for South Alabama, James Madison. The good news, for James Madison is South Alabama really only has one go-to receiver. His name is Colin Lacey. He's got 26 of the team's 70 catches. And he's got 5 of the team's 6 receiving touchdowns. So if they're able to put a spy on him, double him, press him off the line, slow him down, they should be okay. South Alabama really relies heavy on the run game. They got 2 top running backs that are averaging over 5 yards a carry. But I think that kind of plays into James Madison's favor. James Madison's only given up about 42 rushing yards a game, so I'm not really too concerned about those guys running the football. South Alabama, like you mentioned, is coming off a tough loss to Central Michigan last week. The Central Michigan quarterback ran all over them, not yardage-wise, but he had 4 rushing touchdowns to get it done. He had one with 13 seconds left in the game. That's what gave them the win over South Alabama. These teams have never played each other, South Alabama, James Madison. I think the defense is the difference. I think James Madison is able to get a couple of takeaways. Give me James Madison, minus the points as well. I like them to get it done. Big fan of James Madison. And also to note, the regular season, pretty much every game for James Madison matters to them, right? Because they are postseason ineligible because they came to the FBS last. They still are. It's stupid. They still are.
2 years? Didn't we go through that shit last year, Mike?
They still are.
Is it 2 years?
Yeah.
You get screwed for 2 years.
Yeah. So again, every game, that they're playing in, they want to make the most of, and they want to make a statement. So I'm with you. Let's go Dukes.
Horrible. Hey, Mike, can I call this one out since it's alma mater time, man?
Yeah, you got it.
We got Boise State at Memphis, Those of you who don't know or aren't familiar know that so Memphis is Gator Days. Can you hear that, Mike?
What'd you say?
Can you hear the white song?
The voices in your head? No, I can't hear those, Dave. That's just you.
Darn it. Okay. So let's look at this one, guys. So we got Boise State at my Tigers of Memphis. Memphis is getting 3 points here. So Boise comes in at 2-2, coming off a big win against San Diego State. And by the way, they're trash. All right. So the last week, they're 2-2 against the spread. The Tigers are 3-1. Tough loss against Mizzou, but Gator Day picked that one. He did pick his Tigers to lose against Mizzou. So the Tigers are only 1-3 against the spread this year, which is a little concerning. Even with a bad game against Mizzou last week, Tigers got a decent quarterback, when it comes to, the group of 5 teams. Seth Hennigan, one of the best passers in college football. When he's got a clean pocket, he can throw it up there, man. His passing grade's at 90, averaging 8.2 yards per attempt, and his adjusted completion percentages is 77.7. So the Broncos come in, and remember, by the way, this is at we're playing at Memphis. Been to many a tailgate, many a game there in the Liberty, Memphis. Yes, sir.
So you have a personal experience here, huh?
I do have quite a few personal experiences. Broncos have been one of the worst teams in the country at getting to the quarterback, 119th. So they're going to have trouble getting to Hennigan, which is going to be an issue when you got a decent quarterback. Granted, he's not freaking, Caleb Williams, but he's a decent quarterback, so he's going to be pumping it out there. Boise State picked up its second win against San Diego State on last Friday, but to me, that it's just nothing. San Diego State's not what they used to be. Memphis has one of the best secondaries in the country. They defend the pass quite well. So this guy's gonna have a rough time of it, to say the least, as we move along through this thing. So Memphis is top 50 in rushing success rate and EPA per rush allowed. So this one to me, I'll call it like it is with my teams. But in this particular situation, Memphis is going to take care of business in this particular situation and beat Boise State there at the Liberty Bowl in Memphis, Tennessee.
I like it.
Mike?
I like it a lot. I'm with you. Boise State's defense is awful. That's first and foremost the problem for me. They can't stop a nosebleed, and they're also not playing at home. You look at the last 10 years, Boise State is 51-11 at home. On the road, they're 39-17. Since Andy Avalos, the former Boise State player, took over as head coach 2 years ago, Boise's just 8-4 on the road. So 4 of those 17 losses in the last 10 years has come under his watch. That's going to continue in this one. I'm pretty sure this is the first time that these two teams have ever met also, Dave. I don't think y'all have ever played Boise before. And I think the Broncos are going to be sad that they scheduled it. So give me Memphis as well to get the win. And, I think Memphis could win by 17, 41-24 type of thing. I think they're going to put it on them.
Yeah, I'm thinking at least 10 points in this particular situation, Mike. Without a doubt. Hey, we need to shout out to Scotty. Scott Crawford's on here too. Boom!
Our boy Scotty boy.
Scotty's up too. We got the whole gang. We got the whole gang here from Get Ripped, don't we? It's all good. All right. So, Mike, you wanna grab the next one, bud?
Yeah, we can. We're going to talk Illinois, Purdue. Purdue is a minus, I think it's down to 1 now, so it's almost a pick 'em. And I think the line is about 53. So both of these teams have really struggled on offense this year. Luke Altmaier, the quarterback for Illinois, has just 4 touchdowns and 8 total turnovers. On the flip side, you got Hudson Card for Purdue. He has over 1,000 yards passing. Sounds good, right? But only 3 touchdowns and 6 total turnovers. So the most points Illinois has scored this year was 30, and that was week 1 versus Toledo. The most points Purdue has scored this year was 35, and that was week 1 against Fresno State. Those games were the only time all season that either one of those teams have hit 30 points as a team. Purdue has definitely played the tougher schedule. They've played 3 Power 5 teams out of their 4 games. The other one was Fresno State, which they lost in. Fresno's good, though. They might as well be Power 5 at this point. If the Pac-12 stays around, I bet Fresno's going there, but I don't think it's sticking around. Whereas Illinois has played only 2 Power 5 teams out of their first 4, and they really, 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 really struggled against Florida Atlantic last week. In the last 5 games of this series, the visiting team, Dave, is 4-1 straight up and 4-1 against the spread. All right. Purdue has won the last 3 out of the last 4 against the Illini. I'm going to take the under here. I'm going to take under 53. I think it's just a little bit too many points. I think this one is a very physical game. Brett Bielema is going to have those guys ready to go in this one, especially after last week and them kind of slugging along against FAU. I think it's going to be a defensive battle. I think it's going to be one of those classic Big Ten games. So it's going to be something you do not want to watch, and it's going to be like 10-6, and it's going to be awful.
Take it out of your multi-view. Don't make that one part of your multi-view.
Yeah, that would be one we'd swap out. So I'm on the under there. Over to you, Dave. Who do you like in this one?
All right, so a lot of what you talked about, I'm totally on, Mike. I mean, Illinois comes in at 2-2, 0-4 against the spread. I mean, it's just so damn disappointing because Bielema made some headway last year. Granted, he didn't kill it.
They lost a lot of guys.
but
he's
struggling. He's struggling. Wins at home against FAU. Woo, yeah, by 6, and Toledo by 2. Purdue's 1-3, and 1-3 against the spread. Their big win against Virginia Tech. Woo, Virginia Tech's just rocking, aren't they? They lost last week against Wisconsin. This is kind of the battle of the crap of the Big Ten West is kind of the way I look at this one. So it's kind of a rough game. And again, one that I would not be watching if I don't have to watch it on the multi-view. So Illinois narrowly escaped FAU last week, proven to 2-2. They were 23-17 over the Owls. Altmaier he's thrown for 874, 4 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Ooh, that is not good. 4 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. That's ugly. Where did Altmaier play last year? Was he an Ole Miss guy? I can't remember where he was.
I think he was.
He was. I think he's hot garbage. We look over on the other side.
That man has a family, Dave. All right.
I know he does. He probably does. He's probably got a dad and a mommy. So we look over on the other side of the ball. We look at Purdue, and we got Hudson Card from Texas, right? I know all these transfers because Florida was scrambling trying to find a freaking quarterback.
Got your 15th option, yeah.
Yeah, we did, but he's number 1 in the nation in percentage passing. Hudson Card came from Texas.
Yeah, we don't have to look that up.
Yeah, go for it, Big Cat. Hudson Card thrown for 1,000 yards already, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 62%, which I think is kind of leaning me that way. So this one's not the same as last year. Again, the defense is not like it used to be. I don't trust Luke Altmaier to make anything happen. Hudson Card's doing a decent job with the new coach and so on and so forth. So I know you're going the over under in this one, Mike. I'm gonna go Purdue and the money line.
All right, right on. Real quick, just so you don't lie to the people of YouTube out here.
Yeah. All right, what do you got?
J.J. McCarthy is number 1 right now, completion percentage-wise. He has .798, so he's looking at 79%.
79%.
Yep.
Okay.
And then number two is Bo Nix, one of your other all-time favorite QBs out there at Oregon, 79%. And then you got Dylan Gabriel for Oklahoma at 78%. And then there's a guy that plays
number 4
in the middle of fucking Florida somewhere who wears jorts.
Whatever, dude. All right, so we're number 4. We're number 4.
You're number 4. He's number 4.
Okay. All right, good. I'll take 4 compared to where we were with our Indianapolis Colts quarterback.
I hear you.
So let's go next to another game that I didn't like that Mike threw at me. So we've got Iowa State at Oklahoma. Of course, that's another one of the states that I've lived in, Mike. I bet you didn't know that. I bet you didn't know that I lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
So, I didn't know that, actually. So
you did or did not?
I did, dude. I did know that.
You did. So you know your buddy
lost.
Public Out. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So here's what we have here. Iowa State, who came in with all the controversy with their bettors. Remember that? Beginning of the year, the guy.
Yeah, just a starting quarterback, their starting running back, their starting kicker.
Yeah. Bye for betting on games. So here's what we got. Iowa State comes in 2-2.
Now you're one of us.
2-2 against the spread. Yes, true that. They did beat the mighty powerhouse of Oklahoma State and Mullets last week at home. And we know how hard it is to beat Oklahoma State. They did lose to Ohio without the state, and Iowa, who is the obvious offensive powerhouse. Oklahoma is 4-0, wins over Cincinnati last week, and SMU. That's their big wins up to this point. Obviously, we're just now getting the schedule. They're 4-0 against the spread, which is pretty damn good. When we look at quarterback comparisons, we got our QB for Iowa State, Rocco bitch. Last week against Oklahoma State, he was 27-38, 348, 3 touchdowns. For the season, he's at 897, 65%, not too shabby. Gabriel, not doing too shabby either. Another good performance last week. He was 26-38 against Cincinnati, 322 and a touchdown. But like I said, it was just kind of weird that they didn't beat the crap out of Cincinnati, and I thought they would have. He is completing 78% of his passes, which you alluded to, number 3 in the nation, averaging 10.4 yards a attempt. One thing I'm sure about is Oklahoma's defense. They're going to stop that powerhouse of Iowa State's offense, which is ranked 121st, averaging a measly 21 points a game. I'm also sure that, Iowa State's last 10 games, 3 of their first 4 this season, I'm going to make this thing under 48 points because Mike threw this one at me at the last minute. I'm not 100% sure. So I'm going to go under the 48.
Yep, I am with you here. I'm with you here, Dave. I'm on the under 48 as well. I'm going to throw a couple things at you, though, that's going to make you kind of maybe think about Iowa State here, which is good. It's a little crazy. But, hey, just hear me out. Hear me out.
No.
Hear me out.
No.
Hear me out.
Shoot me in the
head. I got something going against the under. So in the last 5 meetings, in 4 of them, the total actually went over. Okay. Also, in the last 5 years, the biggest point differential between the two teams was last year when Oklahoma won by 14. But in the 4 meetings prior to last year, the average point differential in this game was 6.25. Okay? In those games, Oklahoma was favored by 18, 14, and 7. All right? So just something to put your hat on.
Do we really
Absolutely
want to compare what happened in the past to what's happening now, Mike?
Absolutely not, but it's all relevant, Dave. It's all relevant. For the same reason why Florida owns Tennessee, and y'all were able to get that win, about 2 weeks ago.
Because it's in there. It's up here. It's up here.
From the past, baby. That's from the past.
Even Peyton Manning couldn't beat the freaking Gators. All right, go ahead, Mike.
Well, Peyton Manning couldn't beat a lot of people. That's why he only got, 1 or 2 rings when it was all said and done. But anyway, so Iowa State this year is having a real tough time running the football. They're only averaging about 83 yards a game, and that's a major problem against this Oklahoma team that's only given up about 95. So that definitely suits Oklahoma, like you said. But as bad as Iowa State's offense has been, their defense has held their own. I think it's really all about the defenses. That's what it's going to come down to. That's why we're on the under here. Kind of keep it short and sweet on that one. I wouldn't be surprised if this is like a 28-9 type of game. I don't expect a lot of points here at all from either side.
Yeah, I'm just not sold yet on that Oklahoma offense. I mean, it's good. Gabriel's a good job, but
I mean, Gabriel's a
like I
beast.
said, I watched that game against Cincinnati, and I wasn't that impressed. So I
Yeah.
think we're in the right spot.
Well, hey, so one thing I do want to note about that game before we move to the next one, something to note is this is a prime look ahead spot for Oklahoma as well. They got Texas next week. The team that absolutely destroyed them, embarrassed them last year, 0-49.
Yeah.
It was atrocious. Dylan Gabriel didn't play, so you know that game is on his mind. You know that game is on those players and those coaches' mind. So that's something to note here. They could start a little sluggish in this one, and based off of past experience that Gator Dave likes to forget, that could be a problem for Oklahoma. So keep that in mind. But ultimately, we're on the under there.
Cool. Hey, real quick, just remind everyone, please
Yep.
like, please subscribe. Bada bing. We want to keep things moving forward for Get Ripped College Pick'em show. So, all right, Mike. So, this one's yours, right?
Yeah, so we got 2 games left. We've talked 10 already. We're going to talk Tennessee, South Carolina, and we're going to wrap it up with Georgia and Auburn to finish. Do you have a preference, sir, as to which one you'd like to talk about?
I think I'll stick with I'm gonna stay in the family and go with the Georgia game. So you go ahead and go with South Carolina.
Of course
Tennessee.
you are. Of course you're going to give me the game that you picked that you don't want to talk about. That's fine. We can do that. So this is the 42nd game. I hated picking this game, by the way. This is a game that I did not want to touch at all this week, so I appreciate you for bringing me out of my comfort zone here. So this is the 42nd time that these two teams have played each other. Last year, the Vols went to Columbia as a 22-point favorite, and you will remember well, they also had a 9-1 record, mind you. They were on the verge of potentially a playoff berth. If Georgia had slipped up in the SEC championship, they were potentially going to slide in on there. Didn't go that way because they lost to South Carolina 38-63. Well, this year they're not playing in Columbia, Dave. They're playing in Knoxville. And I got a little stat here for you that when these teams play in Knoxville, out of those 42 times that they've played, the Tennessee Volunteers are 18-3 against the old Gamecocks since they joined the SEC back in 1992. And they've won 21 out of the 31 times that they've played since South Carolina has joined the SEC. So a little bit of a trend there with those SEC squads. Ultimately, look, South Carolina can throw the football. We know that. Spencer Rattler can absolutely sling. He's got over 1,200 yards through 4 games. That's insane. He's got 74% completion rate. He's got 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, but he's been sacked 16 times, Dave. 16. Week 1 against North Carolina, he got sacked 9 times. So the offensive line has really cut it back. I mean, what is that, 7-3? So they've really cut back on those sacks. Their leading wide receiver, Xavier Leggett, is an absolute beast. He's got over 500 receiving yards on only 27 catches for the year. But the problem for South Carolina is the run game. They're only averaging 75 yards a game. They are terrible on the run. O-line is not getting it done in that sense. On the flip side, you got Tennessee, and they look pretty well balanced right now. Joe Milton, who was my preseason dark horse Heisman candidate, he has still over 900 yards passing. He's got 8 touchdowns, 1 interception, 4 rushing touchdowns, so 12 total. And they got an absolute carousel of running backs to go with him. They have 4 different guys averaging over 6 yards a carry right now with over 20 carries each. So it's not like these guys have 3 carries, in some garbage time. They're getting fed the football. I think the difference in this one is that ground game. I think Tennessee's ability to stay on the field, control the clock, is going to wear down that Gamecocks defense. I think the Gamecocks are going to struggle to run the ball against Tennessee, so they're going to have to throw it. I think that leaves the door open for Tennessee to get some turnovers. Another fun fact, when Tennessee is able to run for over 177 yards, Josh Heupel is 15-2 as a Tennessee Vol head coach. South Carolina, while they're decent at run defense, they're giving up about 120 a game right now. They're giving up over 300 in the passing game. That doesn't bode well for a guy named Joe Milton who can throw the ball 80 yards in the air. Give me Tennessee to get the revenge game and win by 2 scores in this one, Gator Dave. Who do you got?
All right. This is what I'm loving here, Miami Mike. So here's what we've got. We got the Gamecock coming in at 2-2 on the year. Big win over Mississippi State, back and forth game, but they did win. They're 3-1 against the spread. The Mighty Vols are 3-1. Their lone loss was to.
I don't remember.
All right, to the Gators. No real signature wins yet. Okay, they're 2-2 against the spread. South Carolina, Tennessee have split their past 2 meetings in the series. Home teams won both contests, right? Covered the spread in both games, right, Mike?
18-3 at home.
In the most recent game, South Carolina crushed Tennessee 63-38 after coming in the game as a 23-point underdog. Obviously, this game marked the start of the downfall of those Tennessee Vols, right?
What was the downfall?
They lost to them, and then they, didn't do anything. Didn't do anything after that. They beat Alabama before, right?
I don't think they lost after that until they lost to y'all this year. I just remembered.
Did you? The problem is that they didn't do anything. All right, here's the scoop there, Mike, and Rattler's playing out of his mind. Okay,
that's a fact.
Granted, we all know that South Carolina's running game has not been what it's up to. Okay. My theory is that Rattler's going to have enough to keep the game close, Mike, because that's all I need. It's 12.5 points. Vols win. Dave wins because he picks South Carolina, and he gets the 12.5 points there, Mike. And
okay.
Dave does not care about what's happened in the past per se. What is real is what is happening now. Tennessee has not played, does not have a signature win. They lost to Florida, who, if we can win 7 games, Mike, it's going to be a good year. Rah, rah, 7 games. It's going to be a good year. So we're relatively mediocre. The Gators.
Oh, you're talking about the Gators right now. You're lucky to win 7.
Mediocre, but we beat Tennessee. Okay, so we're
you
mediocre.
Did. Congratulations! You might as well get a ring now.
Don't get used to that, Mike, because next year we're coming at you, bro.
Oh yeah.
But what I'm trying to say here is that Tennessee has no signature win. Okay, they will more than likely win this game, but 12.5 points isn't enough. It's going to be a closer game than that. Give me them South Carolina Gamecocks.
Right.
Boom.
So when you say Tennessee doesn't have a signature win, are you talking this year?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean, well, yeah, they haven't really played anybody yet, but I mean, last year they beat LSU, they beat Alabama. I'm just saying. You're right.
Stay in
but
the
they had 12 returning starters.
Stay in your lane, bro. Dude, we killed them. That's a problem. Stay in your lane. Stay in the years. Don't go back.
Yeah. Tennessee has a bye week next week. Okay.
I'm gonna teach you.
And then they got Texas A&M, and then they got at Alabama. That's gonna be your signature win right there, brother. You got about
down the road.
2-3 weeks. 2-3 weeks.
You can say what you want, but Gatorade's gonna win this one, Mike. We're gonna win this one. So, all right,
we can do a little side thing on that game if you'd like, sir.
Quite confident. So let's move to the next game that you threw out there that I didn't want. But I'll suck it up and take the game. So we have the Georgia.
Hold on. I'm pretty sure the words you used were, "I'm so glad you put this game on there."
Well, true that, but you did throw that one out there, and
I rest my case. I rest my case. Please continue.
I did like this one later, and you threw it in there, so I'm good with it. I'm good with it.
Going senile, everybody. We got to watch this guy.
Done my research. So,
cognitive testing.
We're gonna go with my boy Ian, all his buddies that went to Georgia, and all those many years that I went up there twice a year for Parents Weekend. All right, so here's what we got. University of Georgia is 4-0. They are 0-4 against the spread, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia beat South Carolina at home by only 10 points. And the other 3 wins have been against cupcakes. Auburn, however, Auburn 3-1, but they're only 1-3 against the spread. Their big win was against Cal. And if you know anything about that game, dig in, go look at the replay. That was about they were rubbing the rabbit's foot so hard you couldn't see straight. They got so lucky they won that game. War Eagle is in trouble on the offensive side of the ball, Mike. They have no quarterback. They cannot generate anything through the air. The Dogs will be their first real test, of a really good team. Now, the Dogs are going on the road. We have to worry about that, right? Oh, my God, they're going on the road. All right. I think it's fair to say that the Bulldogs, they've not been dominant like we've seen in the past, but they've still won by an average of 30 points a game. They've started slow, okay? But when push comes to shove, they made it happen. They got it done. I am predicting this will be a show-me game for the Dogs, with the Tigers' offense being just hot garbage. Kirby's going to put his foot on the gas, on that Tiger throat, and take care of business. I mean, I think this game will be like 42-10. There is no way that Auburn will score over 10 points. Give me them Dogs to cover.
Yeah. Shout out to our Georgia fans that are in the chat and watching from home. We appreciate you. I don't know about this one, Dave. I don't know about this one. So the line is sitting at 14. Does that not seem a little low to you for this game? Just asking. Anyway.
Seems like a damn gimme to me. I mean, it's Georgia.
Gimmies are scary, man. Gimmies is how Vegas makes money.
On the road. Talk to me, big cat. Talk to me.
All right. So, obviously, Auburn has a little bit of a quarterback issue going on. They've tried, 3 or 4 guys. But last game, they finally put Robbie Ashford in. Robbie Ashford, I thought, should have been the guy from the jump for Auburn. He's a dual threat. He's had success in the SEC about a year or 2 ago. He's been in these kinds of games. He won Auburn some games before. That's kind of the reason that TJ Finley left and went to Texas State, was him and then who they brought in transfer-wise when Hugh Freeze got hired. I think Auburn has a chance to keep this one closer than some people think in the first half. If you remember back a couple shows back when South Carolina, Georgia played, I took South Carolina first half. Fading Georgia in the first half this season has been very, very profitable. They have started extremely slow against these teams. Ball State, Tennessee Martin, South Carolina, all these teams that they should have absolutely waxed from start to finish. And they have Georgia fans freaking out watching their TVs, thinking, oh my God, here's Mark Richt all over again. as y'all just won 2 back-to-back. You better relax, all right? You better be thankful for what you got right now. But the problem is Kirby Smart made a mistake in this offseason, Gator Dave, by hiring former OC, Mr. Mike Bobo. That's where Mark Richt went wrong, and for whatever reason, Kirby Smart thought, I'm different. So I blame a lot of what's going on with the Georgia offense on Mike Bobo. Typically, OCs, especially older OCs, they have preset plays going into games where, the first 10 plays, 15 plays, 20 plays are basically planned. They're sticking to those plays. They're going to see what works, see what the defense does shift-wise. I don't know what he's doing. It looks atrocious. I mean, to have 6 points at halftime against some of these teams is a joke. What they do in the second half is incredible.
You don't think it's back? You don't think it's back?
No, dude. If you look at his stats, he actually has decent stats. I mean, when he's given the chance to throw, I think people forget, and maybe Mike Bobo forgets, that he's got 4 and 5 stars littered all over that offense. I mean, throw it up to him. Let him make a play. The thing that I've seen with Georgia this year, though, is their running backs. Usually they have an absolute haul at running backs. So there's 3-4 guys. You put them in the game, they can get you 7 yards. You don't really see that this year. There hasn't really been a guy that steps up and kind of taken that role over yet. Having said all of this, I am not taking Auburn in this game. All right, I'm not doing it. I'm on Georgia minus 14. I'm on Georgia minus 14. All right. But first half, it's going to be close. And I will say the best bet that you could make on this one is to wait till halftime, because Auburn is probably going to be right there. It's going to be like 10-13, something stupid like that. Take Georgia then and watch them work in the second half. Kirby Smart has a way of getting his guys going at halftime that only, Dion and a handful of other guys have the ability to do. I mean, the way that he gets them motivated to, go out against that South Carolina team, they were losing at halftime, right? Kirby Smart says, we're going to go down, we're going to score on 3 possessions, and the defense isn't going to let them score again. What'd they do? Exactly that. And they won the game. They handled them when it was all said and done. Georgia fans, don't freak out at halftime, all right? When you are potentially losing at Auburn, or you're only up by 3 or 7 or whatever it is, relax. The second half is coming, okay? Georgia minus 14. That's the play.
My opinion, Mike. I think it's going to be pedal to the metal.
You think it's a blowout from start to finish?
I think this is going to be. I think this is going to be the game. It's totally gut. I mean, we've given our opinion on the 14. We feel confident in that, but my gut tells me that it's going to be boat race, pedal to the metal, because these jackasses are just so bad on offense. It's not even funny. So,
yeah.
All right. Hey, we need to call out to Hindu. We've had him for the last little bit there, buddy. So we got our boy Hindu on here too. We've got visits from all our buds. So it's awesome.
Always appreciate everybody watching.
Absolutely. And please don't forget to subscribe, like, so we keep that thing rocking and rolling. So we've gone through our games, and unfortunately Mike's team doesn't play this week. So, I'm going to talk about my Gators since the Hurricanes have a bye week and they get to sit out, right? So here's what we got. We got the Gators. Kind of a weird-ass game against Charlotte last week, right? I mean, most people think, you should have beat them. You should have beat them worse than that, I mean, you had problems in the red zone. 5 field goals, there seems to be an issue. Well, let me tell you guys.
You think?
We talked about Georgia and how they're coming. It's going to be a coming out party. I think it's going to be the Gators coming out party up there in Lexington for a 12 o'clock game. Even though our buddy Stoops, our coach Stoops, thinks they can drink enough to get all toasty for the game by noon.
I mean, it's Kentucky.
This game, yeah, Kentucky. Yeah. This game right now is at -1. It used to be, it was like -3 or 4 when this thing started. So, here's my theory on the game. So, and why what you saw against Charlotte is not going to fall true this game. So, we basically were down 3 offensive linemen to start the game. 2 of those offensive linemen never showed up in the second half because one was injured. The other one was getting reprimanded because he got into a fight against the Tennessee Vols. So we had the issue there.
So your backup, are you trying to say, I just want to make sure I'm getting this right. Are you trying to say that your backup offensive lineman on Florida, the SEC team, couldn't do much against
all I'm
Charlotte
saying is that be ready this week, Mike.
Oh, okay.
We're at full force.
Mm-hmm.
No issues with injuries.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have all our starting offensive linemen. We're going to have a guy named Trey Wilson. I want everyone to understand and write this down. Trey Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
He is a receiver for the Florida Gators. And expect him to have a right nice game against the Kentucky Wildcats.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention Travis Etienne and the numbers he'll put up. Right now it's at -1. I think the Gators can win by 7 or more. Mark it down. As I've said, I'll take side bets with you, Miami Mike, anytime.
I don't think y'all are scoring 20.
We're going to win by 7, Mike.
That's fine. I don't think you're going to score 20.
You're going to win by 7, Mike. There we go.
I don't think you're going to score 20.
We're going to win by 7.
Kentucky is going to hold y'all, man. What have y'all done? All right, what have you done on offense? You went and you lost to Utah with their backup quarterbacks, and you put up 11 points. Then you played McNeese State. Oh, you put up 49. Then you played Tennessee. Tennessee's pretty good, You put up 29. Then you played Charlotte last week, and you got 22. I'm just saying, against that Kentucky defense, I don't know. I don't know if you're going to get 20. I don't know if you're going to hit that number.
They play some powerhouses, Mike. Kentucky's played some powerhouses, so I'm sure.
No, that was your schedule that I just said.
I know, but you just said against that Kentucky defense. So
yeah,
Kentucky's
defense.
See,
I mean, this is their first real game. To your point, they've had 4 basic cupcakes that they've been ready to, work out the kinks, get things going. I don't know, Dave. I don't know.
Mike, let's bet some.
I don't know, Dave. All right, we can do that, dude. I would love to bet against the Gators.
7 points.
Go Wildcats. No, dude, we're going the spread. What are you talking about? It's like 1.
All right, we'll go the spread. You got 1. You got the Wildcats.
You want 7 points. What, are you crazy?
Good.
All right, let me throw up the recap for this week. So we talked our 12, and then we can get out of here. We don't have to listen to this Gainesville talk anymore. So we're head-to-head on 4 different ones. We are matching on 8, like-minded. You have a 2-game lead on me right now, Gator Dave. That's why you have that medal.
Mike, and you might want to listen every once in a while, but that's okay. We'll go there.
Well, I was gonna say there's a little chance for movement here this week with 4 games. There could be a shift going into week 6, but we'll see.
There could be.
We'll see.
There could be. So we have the difference. The difference makers are Cincinnati, BYU, Coastal Southern game, Georgia Southern, Purdue, Illinois game, and South Carolina, Tennessee. Those are the 4 games to be on the lookout for, right, Mike?
That's right.
So,
all right, sir. Anything you want to say before we sign off for the week?
No, we really, really, really appreciate the 100, getting to 100 subscriptions. That was just freaking awesome. We're so excited about that. And my goodness, the participation tonight has probably been one of the best nights we've ever had. We've had some folks we got introduced to, right?
Bunch of people in chat. We really appreciate it. Everybody that watched, we really appreciate it. It was awesome. Had a great time.
Keep that coming. I mean, we're having a great time, and that's what it's all about. And besides, hopefully, you guys really kind of listen to what we got to say, because I think we might be doing a little bit better than some of the soothsayers out there in La La Land when it comes to some of the numbers, at least so far this year anyway. So we're enjoying it. Mike, love you, man, and let's nurse the pups back to health. And, wrap things up and say, give me a go Gators.
Go Canes, baby. Go Canes, even on a bye week. Thank you again for everybody that watched. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already.